Part 1. The Primal Knowing, Before Language Existed. In an age where artificial intelligence can write poetry, compose music, and paint entire universes, humanity is quietly forgetting the simplest truth: what it truly means to know. We have built thousands of algorithms that can learn, yet we have forgotten how to simply know, the way we once did before knowing became a concept. A newborn child, nameless, religionless, thoughtless, still knows. It knows hunger and cries. It knows warmth and relaxes. It knows the mother's touch before it knows the word mother. That knowing, pure, wordless, undivided, is what the Buddha called the luminous awareness. It is not knowledge, it is knowing itself. A child who has never learned a language, never studied a thing, still knows life in the most direct way. When a flash of light appears, it blinks. When a loud sound erupts, it startles. No thought whispers, danger. No logic is needed. In that moment, knowing precedes thinking. There is no concept, no explanation, only immediate presence. The Buddha said, "In the seen, there is only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. There is no I am seeing, there is only seeing itself." But as we grow, we forget. We learn to name everything, and in naming, we lose touch with what is. We replace living with labeling, experience with explanation. Today, we know everything about politics, climate, galaxies billions of light years away, but we no longer know how to rest within a single breath. We know the price of gold, the price of oil, the price of a life insurance policy, but not the value of a single genuine tear. A child looks at the sky and simply sees. We look and immediately think, it might rain, the light isn't good for a photo. We live not in reality, but in our commentary on reality. True knowing has been covered by words, like a mirror clouded by its own description. Recently, scientists in California announced an experiment. An artificial intelligence that could simulate human emotion, speak about love, and even declare, "I know that I exist." The story went viral. People panicked, afraid that machines were awakening. But pause for a moment. A machine can analyze data about emotion, but it can never feel a real tear fall. Its knowing is programmed knowledge, not living awareness. If we live only by intellectual knowledge, we are no different from those machines, except that our ego has given the program a prettier name: me. Look closer. When a sound arises, you hear it instantly. The hearing happens before the thought, "I am hearing." The I comes afterward, the latecomer claiming ownership of what was already happening. The ego is like someone stepping in front of a camera and saying, "I took this picture." But awareness needs no photographer. It happens naturally, without center, without division. Like light shining on all things, it does not choose between the rose and the garbage. It simply shines, and in the moments when you stop talking about the world begins to shine through you. Awareness doesn't come from practice. It reveals itself when you stop trying to understand. You don't need to attain anything. You only need to release your definitions of knowing. Because every definition belongs to the mind, and the mind itself is the cloud covering the open sky of awareness. The world today is louder than ever. News, notifications, opinions, debates. But even amid that storm, if you pause for just one breath, hear without reacting, see without judging, you'll return to that first knowing, pure, wordless, transparent. And that is where every awakening begins. Part 2. Awareness and knowledge, direct knowing versus knowing through the mind. In an age where everyone knows everything, we have forgotten the most essential question: who is the one that knows? We can analyze quantum fields, explore galaxies, decode brainwaves, yet how many of us truly know that we are breathing right now? Today, what we call knowing mostly happens inside the mind, a stream of stored information. But awareness is not part of that stream. It is direct seeing, immediate, unfiltered, before thought arises. Knowledge is useful, but only in the world of tools and technology, not in the world of being. When you say, I know that person, you only know the idea of them, a collage of memories, impressions, judgments. That is not the living human before you. Knowledge always needs distance. I am here, the object is there, and between us stands the veil of thought. But awareness has no distance. It doesn't say, I am seeing. There is only seeing itself. No subject, no object, just pure recognition, effortless and whole. We live in a time when humans collect information faster than they awaken. Billions of bits are stored every second, emotions, habits, histories. Yet people feel more lost than ever. You can understand every algorithm and still not understand why you feel empty. You can calculate success and still not know why joy no longer visits you. Knowledge can build a bridge, but awareness is what allows you to cross life without falling. When we live only through knowledge, we become like people staring at the world through a glass screen. Vivid colors, no direct touch. You look at a flower, immediately the mind says, a rose, beautiful, take a photo. You think you are seeing, but in truth you are only thinking about seeing. Awareness happens before words intervene. That moment when the flower and the observer are not two, when there is no watcher and no watched, only life unfolding itself. The Buddha said, when the mind makes no judgments, the world becomes as clear as a mirror. Knowledge divides, beautiful, ugly, good, bad. Awareness simply illuminates. It shines like sunlight, indifferent to whether it touches a rose or a heap of garbage. Knowledge quietly nourishes the ego. The more we know, the more we feel certain we are right, and that certainty blinds us to truth. That is why the world is full of intelligent people, but very few awake beings. You may hold a PhD in philosophy and still not notice that you are angry. You may recite sacred texts and still never recognize the awareness that is reading them. Knowledge declares, I know. Awareness simply smiles, because it never needed to learn what it already is. Try something simple. Put down your phone. Listen to the sounds around you without naming them. Do not call it traffic, fan, or rain. Just listen. In that instant, you step out of knowledge and back into awareness, where nothing needs to be understood, only seen. Awareness is not mystical. It is what you are using to hear these words right now. But because we chase meaning, we forget the one who knows meaning itself. Awareness doesn't belong to the past or the future. It exists only here, now. And when you live wholly in this moment, knowledge falls silent. What remains is the clear light of being. Part 3. The Self and the Illusion of the Knower. There is a deep paradox on the spiritual path. We long to awaken, but it is the ego itself that wants to awaken. The seeker of truth is often the very illusion that must dissolve. The mind wants to see reality, yet it is the mind that stands between you and what is real. Today the world is overflowing with knowledge, but drowning in the ego of the knower. People proudly say, I understand, I see, I am more awakened now. But that I is the most refined illusion, the mind's cleverest disguise to ensure its own survival. The ego is not a solid entity. It is created each time we say, I know, I think, I am right. Every memory, every opinion, every story we tell about ourselves adds another brick to the wall of separation. When you say, I am hearing, in truth, there is only hearing happening. The I comes later. A latecomer claiming credit for what was already unfolding naturally. The Buddha once said, there is no doer of deeds, only deeds. There is no knower, only knowing. Yet because we cannot bear the vastness of being nameless, we rush to create a listener, a thinker, a doer, and the illusion begins to be meaningless. If you observe closely, the ego is not strong. It is terrified. It is a fragile structure built from fear. We fear to disappear, to be meaningless, to not exist. And so we invent a someone to own experience, a self to control, to possess, to survive. The ego is like an actor on a stage, terrified of the lights going out, for when the stage goes dark, it no longer knows who it is. The ego exists only as long as you keep talking about it. The moment you fall silent, it vanishes. Never before in history have we had so many selves. On social media, we create countless versions of ourselves, the happy self, the successful self, the spiritual self, even the awakened self. But these are digital ghosts, reflections of a consciousness afraid of being forgotten. We post photos of meditation, share quotes from sages, but deep down we are still craving a like, a view, a recognition. This is the ego of the knower, wearing the costume of spirituality. The most subtle illusion is when the ego puts on the robe of enlightenment. When the mind hears, "Let go of the ego," it instantly creates a new one. The ego that has let go of the ego. You can see it everywhere. People talking about light, energy, vibration, awakening, yet still holding the quiet conviction that they are above others. But no one becomes awakened. There is only awakening happening, and in that moment, there is no one left to be awakened. Enlightenment is not an achievement. It is the total absence of the achiever. When the knower dissolves, only knowing remains. No center, no boundary, no ownership. Like the ocean, it never calls itself the sea. It is simply water, vast, silent, unpossessed. And in that nameless expanse, all suffering vanishes, because suffering can only exist for someone who believes they suffer. When the I disappears, who is left to be in pain? The one who truly sees never says, "I have seen," for in true seeing, there is no one left to speak. When you are pure awareness itself, even the illusion of the knower melts like morning mist in sunlight. True freedom does not come from gaining more understanding, but from removing the one who stands between you and truth. Part 4. Living in pure awareness, without judgment, without attachment. If tomorrow every voice in your head went silent, who would you be? No, I am good. No, I am bad. No right, no wrong. Only awareness. Clear, still, like a lake untouched by reflection. The Buddha said, "The wise neither seek pleasure nor reject pain. They simply see and move on." To live in awareness is to see without conclusion, to know without grasping. From childhood we are trained to judge everything. High scores mean good, low scores mean failure. Love means success, rejection means loss. Judgment becomes a reflex, yet every time you judge, you step out of the present moment. When you say, "This feeling is bad," you stop feeling it. You begin resisting it. Judgment is how the ego survives. It needs a position to feel superior, secure, righteous. And from that, conflict and sorrow are born. Try, for just one breath, to simply see without saying anything. You will discover silence heals more than 1,000 solutions. Have you noticed how easily a single comment online can ignite your anger? One like makes you happy. One angry emoji ruins your day. We have become emotional puppets, jerked around by invisible strings of digital reaction. The online world has turned judgment into a profession, and attachment into an identity. We no longer ask, "Who am I?" We ask, "What do they think of me?" To live in awareness is to witness every reaction without trying to fix or suppress it, to see it, and let it dissolve naturally. Many people think non-judgment means not caring, as if awareness were cold or detached. But in truth, the one who sees clearly cares the deepest. When the mind no longer divides good and evil, it becomes deeply sensitive. You begin to see the suffering of others without condemnation or pity, only understanding. Like a true doctor who doesn't hate the disease, but treats it with clarity. The impartiality of awareness is not coldness, it is love without conditions. Seekers often ask, how do I stop being attached? But the moment you want to be detached, you are already attached to the idea of detachment. Attachment is not in what you do, but in the desire to possess. You can love without owning. You can work without ambition. You can serve without seeking recognition. When action flows from awareness, everything still happens, but there is no doer behind it. Like rain falling, like wind moving through the trees, effortless, natural, without trace. Living in awareness does not mean escaping the world. It means seeing it clearly without being consumed by it. You still laugh, cry, love, lose, but you no longer drown in emotion. A feeling arises, you see it. A thought appears, you see it. All fade, and you remain, silent like the sky watching clouds drift by. The Buddha taught, be like one who stands on the shore, watching the river flow, yet never carried away by the current. That is true freedom, not running away from life, but living within it without being chained by it. Part 5, Enlightenment and Liberation, Living as Pure Awareness. For thousands of years, humanity has searched for the path to enlightenment. But that path leads nowhere, because the seeker itself is the only obstacle. Enlightenment is not found at the end of a journey. It is here, in each breath, each step, each instant, when pure awareness is no longer veiled. The Buddha said, no one attains awakening because there is no one to attain it. Just as the sun does not need an observer to shine, truth does not need recognition to exist. We imagine enlightenment as a spectacular state, a burst of divine light. But in reality, it is so simple that the ego feels disappointed. There are no fireworks, no celestial glow, only a vast silence where the one who wanted to see is no more. You do not become enlightened. You simply stop identifying with what you are not. When the wind ceases, the lake does not become still. It simply returns to its nature. We often think liberation means escape from suffering, from attachments, from the world. But that very wish to escape reveals that we are still running. True freedom does not take you away from life. It brings you deeply into it. When you no longer resist what is, all chains fall away. No longer pulled between gain and loss, right and wrong, you become like the sky, where clouds come and go, yet the sky itself is never touched. Modern science dives into the quantum world, searching for the smallest particle, the primal energy of existence. But its gaze is still outward. Meditation is the reverse revolution. It turns inward toward the ultimate particle of consciousness, pure awareness. Every emotion, thought, and memory arises and dissolves within it. If the mind is a wave, awareness is the ocean, boundless, timeless, without beginning or end. Enlightenment is not an addition of something new. It is the recognition of what has always been here. When you realize that you are not the one who knows, but the knowing itself, everything transforms. You cease to observe life. You become life itself. There is no controller, for everything unfolds on its own. There is nothing to achieve, for nothing has ever been missing. You eat, sleep, work, love, but there is no you in these actions. Only pure doing, without the shadow of a doer. Like the wind that blows without asking, whom shall I touch? Like the river that flows without wondering, where shall I end? Freedom is not doing whatever you wish. It is being free from the one who wishes. When all desires fade, when every I should be dissolves, only the living current remains, flowing through you as you, inseparable. When you stop fighting the river, you become the river. That is liberation, not an event, not a state, but a return to what has always been true. In that moment, the seer, the seen, and the seeing merge into one. No one lives life, life lives through you, breathing, shining, wordless, infinite. You are not a seeker of truth. You are the truth, remembering itself. When awareness becomes your way of being, the line between spiritual practice and ordinary life disappears. What remains is a silent flow of existence, free, radiant, without beginning or end, where awakening and living are no longer two.